Topping our news here at 5 o'clock. It has been almost a month now since Msgr Craig Harrison was placed on leave by the Catholic Diocese pending an investigation into allegations of sexual misconduct. We have seen overwhelming support from Msgr Harrison by his parishioners, and we have seen strong support from victims' advocates for the men who have come forward. Tonight, in an exclusive interview, we hear from a member of a Catholic religious order. He never imagined that he would be speaking out against another member of the church, but after much prayer and many sleepless nights, he says he knows this is the right thing.
Now, 17's Olivia LaVoice has that story, but we want to start with reaction from Harrison's attorney to the brother's statement. Quote, "I'm not shocked," attorney Kyle Humphrey said. Quote, "This is an effort to frame and destroy Father Craig as a means to get to the deep pockets of the church. This is very much like the Game of Thrones, players with individual motives to build their own little kingdoms," end quote. Now here's Olivia with the rest of the story.
Brother Justin Gilligan told me that coming forward is the hardest decision he's ever made. As a Catholic monk and someone studying to become a priest, speaking out against another priest is almost unheard of. But he said he couldn't stand by and watch people misinterpret how the events unfolded in the early stages of the Harrison investigation. He told me he also felt that the first person to publicly come forward with accusations against Harrison would likely be attacked by Msgr Harrison's supporters and his attorney. Brother Justin felt compelled to try to bear that burden for other potential victims. He also wants it to be clear the diocese is aggressively investigating all accusations, including things he says happened to him in Bakersfield. He didn't want to go on camera, and there are certain details he says he can only share with law enforcement, but he came to speak with us and tearfully read a statement with a message he feels everyone needs to hear.
Brother Justin Gilligan spent the last 3 years out of state at a monastery as a Catholic monk living a simple life of solitude. But before the 30-year-old took his vows, he spent most of his time at St. Francis of Assisi Church in Bakersfield alongside Msgr Craig Harrison. Brother Justin is his religious name, but he says people in Bakersfield would know him as Ryan Dixon. He once thought his calling was in politics, but by 2011 that changed. As Brother Justin describes it, he was a zealous young Catholic attending Mass every day. He says Harrison became a mentor he trusted and admired. With Harrison's encouragement, he joined the seminary and studied to be a priest under the Diocese of Fresno for 3 years. After graduating with his bachelor's degree, he moved from the diocese to the monastery. While Brother Justin left on good terms, no one ever knew what drove him to leave until now. Brother Justin's involvement in the Harrison investigation began in early April, about 3 weeks before Harrison was put on leave by the diocese. That's when 2 administrators from the Diocese of Fresno contacted Brother Justin's superiors at the monastery. They explained they'd been contacted by a third party, encouraging them to contact Brother Justin, believing he had important information regarding Harrison. Brother Justin said after learning the gravity of the situation involving allegations of sexual misconduct with minors, he knew he had to act. He said he was ready to tell the diocese what he experienced and witnessed being in Harrison's inner circle from 2011 to 2016. As he puts it in his statement, he was a victim of Harrison's, quote, inappropriate touching, lies, manipulation, and abuse of power. He says, quote, I witnessed him being inappropriate with children, giving gifts, money, saying sexual jokes, touching, and being alone with them, end quote. But when members of the diocese arrived to his monastery, he learned they needed his help with more than just his own experiences. This is when Brother Justin learned the name of a potential victim, a man he once knew but hadn't had contact with in years. Brother Justin says, quote, they wanted me to reach out to him because I had been away from the diocese and not connected with anyone in Bakersfield for many years. After lots of prayer and with permission from his superiors, Brother Justin left the monastery and flew to California to meet with the man we're calling John Doe 1. Brother Justin explains it's a big deal for a monk to come out of solitude and leave the monastery, a decision he didn't take lightly. When he arrived, he says John Doe 1, quote, didn't know why I was coming. He had no idea Father Craig was being investigated by the diocese. He told me that he had been abused as a minor and was grateful that I was there. I said to him, I believe you, end quote. John Doe 1 also told Brother Justin it was good it was he who came to see him, because if it had been someone from the diocese, quote, he would think he was being set up by Father Craig. The next day, April 12th, John Doe 1 was interviewed by the diocese. On April 15th, the first day of Holy Week, the diocese contacted law enforcement. 12 days after the diocese interviewed John Doe 1, Harrison was put on administrative leave. Brother Justin wants it to be clear the diocese came to him to help facilitate them speaking to John Doe 1. He says, quote, the narrative of allegations of those coming forward for financial gain or trying to destroy a good man's name is 100% false. Since then, we have learned of 2 previously reported allegations against Harrison are being reinvestigated by the diocese and various law enforcement agencies. And 3 other men, including John Doe 1, came forward for the first time with allegations last month. This, according to attorney Joseph George. Brother Justin says he understands why they didn't come forward earlier. He says he didn't want to come forward earlier because he felt due to Harrison's high status in Bakersfield and the diocese, people may not have believed him, and Harrison could have, quote, easily ruined my chance of becoming a priest or ruined my reputation in Bakersfield, end quote. Brother Justin says he still feels fear about coming forward, but also feels he has a responsibility to the church to, quote, protect our children and bring clarity to this unfortunate situation. He feels people need to know that as a young man in the seminary, Harrison, quote, made sexual advances to me, which I rejected, that caused tension through the years, end quote. He says this caused him to lose his faith. It took time, but he says his faith is now stronger than ever, especially knowing the diocese takes allegations of child sex abuse seriously. He wants people of the church to know he can relate to their pain during this time of scandal. He says since being visited by members of the diocese last month, he's had many sleepless nights, shed many tears, and been in great anguish. But he encourages parishioners to stay strong and have compassion for those coming forward. As he is the first person to publicly come forward with allegations against Harrison, he wants the community to know, quote, I have nothing to gain by this. I don't need money because I am a monk. And I have no animosity or hard feelings towards Father Craig. I have forgiven him for what he has done to me. I am here to support victims to come forward and not be afraid to show their faces because this happened to me, a Catholic monk. And I will stand with you, and I believe you. In one particularly emotional experience, Brother Justin recently spoke with the father of a potential victim who is now deceased. But before that man's death, his claims of abuse weren't believed, Brother Justin says. Brother Justin told his father, quote, I did this for your son.
Brother Justin is back at the monastery, but before returning, he cooperated with various law enforcement agencies. A spokesperson for the diocese confirms that administrators from the diocese did speak with Brother Justin. We have his full statement posted on our website, kget.com. Now, attorney for Msgr Harrison, Kyle Humphrey, says in the last 20 years, Harrison has raised more money for the good of his community than the rest of the diocese combined. He says that makes Harrison an easy target. He says everything Brother Justin has said is false. The multi-agency investigation into allegations against Msgr Harrison is very complex, dealing with highly sensitive issues. It's a topic we've been looking into here at 17, and we'll have more news for you soon. But for now, I'm Olivia Lavoie, 17 News.